Since the dawn of time, humanity has looked to the heavens for answers, seeking patterns in the stars, whispers of destiny, and guidance for the path ahead. The sky is not merely an expanse of light and shadow. It is a mirror, reflecting both the vastness of the cosmos and the intricate design of our own lives. Above, we see the ancient rhythms of creation, an eternal dance that holds the wisdom of all beginnings and all endings. In astrology, we engage with a sacred language, one that transcends the limits of words and time. Each celestial movement is a message, each cycle a verse in the poetry of existence. To understand the stars is to understand the profound interconnectedness of all things, how the motion of the cosmos aligns with the unfolding of our lives, weaving moments of harmony, challenge, and transcendence into the fabric of being. Through the rhythms of the heavens, we encounter the mysteries of choice and destiny, and of fate and free will. The stars do not bind us. They illuminate the pathways before us, offering insight into the lessons, opportunities, and transformations that await. They invite us to move consciously with the great currents of existence, to attune ourselves to the divine order, and to embrace the unfolding story of our soul's evolution. The cosmos is a living scripture, written across the expanse of eternity. To gaze at the heavens is to witness not only the infinite, but also the intimate, the ways in which the universal and the personal merge. It is an act of remembrance, a returning to the profound truth that we are not separate from the stars, but are born of their very essence. In this sacred space, we honor the celestial, the earthly, and the eternal. Welcome to the stars. Welcome to the journey. Namaste, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. It's Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. Hope you guys are having a magical day and living your best life. I certainly am. It's a snow day here in South Texas. We got about a quarter inch of snow, and that was about it where we are. I know Houston got a little bit more, and they're doing some sledding right now. But no, I've just been sitting by the fire reading this book right here, Tertium Organum by Ouspensky. And so I'm going to have a pretty cool presentation for you guys on Friday or Saturday, depending on how much I get done. But that's what I did today. Let's see. Yesterday was a post-call day. I came home from the hospital, and I didn't sleep all night. It was not a very nice shift. I didn't enjoy it. Well, I mean, I enjoyed it because I got to do it. But very cold and rainy and icky day post-call, and I slept for a very hard 3 hours and then went to bed around 9 o'clock and slept till about 8 a.m. this morning. So I'm feeling really good today. I am so excited to bring you this presentation. We're going to talk about pi. We're going to talk about phi. We're going to talk about the fine structure constant. We are going to talk about the planets, what they're doing right now, what they're doing this week. And I'm going to take you basically from about the 18th of January to the end of January. And then we're going to look a little bit into the future. And then I have a little decode for you. I've been code breaking the universe, and I think it's going to blow your minds when you see what I've connected with Pi Phi and the coming astrology. So let's see who's here. Desiree's here. Hello, my dear. Thank you so much for coming. How was your weather? You're a little more north of me. You like the intro? Thank you. Laurie's here. Yeah, we had such a good class last night. I'm walking on cloud 9. It's kind of like that post-coital, post-orgasmic energy, you know, where you like, oh, this was the first class. It finally happened. And there we are. It is what it is. It's so great. The group of people we have are amazing. Sprout Queen's here. No snow in Southwest Florida, but don't think you saw 60 degrees. Well, that's still pretty chilly, but I think we got up to 38 or 39 today.
Tracy's here. All right. And then Miss Diana from Mexico is here. Not on for long has a client. Oh yeah, you'll want to watch the replay. In fact, you'll want to watch this one. And then when you're done watching me, you want to go and listen to the dates for 2025 again. I'm going to link that video, or I'm going to show you where to get that video here in just a minute. And then you want to come back and listen to this video again, because it might make more sense. But for those of you that are following me closely, this should be just kind of like mind candy for you at the end when we do the decode. So, all right. Yeah, Tracy is still in Mexico. Cool. All right, we have 11 to kick this off. I want to read to you a passage from this cute little book I got. It's an older book that a friend has lent me right here. It's called The Influence of the Zodiac Upon Human Life, and the first edition was in 1894. So I want to read this to you guys real quick, and then I want to show you the stars. The scientists and philosophers of past ages, from Greek Pythagoras to Copernicus, taught that the combined influence of the stars and planets marked the vast differentiation of animal man, and that to every human being is given in one another direction a divine genius or talent. This genius depends upon the rhythmic harmonies of nature's universal orchestra, playing upon the physical organism of man. Not to know one's genius is to be governed and tossed about by the storms of life. To be able to embrace opportunity, with a capital O, is to live in the native sphere from whence all harmonies proceed. The reader must ever bear in mind that there is no such thing as fatality. These recondite laws act only upon the physical body and are always amenable to the intelligent mind action. The spiritual man is absolute monarch over every physical condition. So I just thought that was pretty cool. You guys might want to hear that bit of wisdom from over a century ago and a little bit more. The title of today's video is a bit of a clickbait, but you guys know I do that sometimes. And it's based upon this viral meme that goes around about every 3 or 4 years. And my friends that know of astrology tangentially through me always reach out to me out of nowhere and say, oh my God, is there an amazing planetary alignment coming up soon? And that particular meme says that Venus and Saturn and Jupiter and Mars are all going to be in alignment. And so the catchphrase of the meme is basically this, the grand conjunction where all the planets line up. I don't even know when that was, but basically that's what they're alluding to when they put that title in the meme. When in actuality, that's not what's happening. But I wanted to get you guys here so that you could see what's actually happening. Is pretty stellar. It's pretty interesting. And the code behind it that we're going to break down today for you after I read you the astrology is going to literally blow your mind. So I am so excited to be here and to share this with you. Who else is here? Let's see. Mama Wolf Memories. Hiya, welcome. And Katie's here. All right. Hi, Katie. Cool. Yeah. The group that is the beginning group of Stellar Foundations is amazing. We have such brain power in that group. I'm so excited to put the tool of astrology in their hands and see what they come up with. That's really what it's about. You know, I'm not all about astrology. I'm also about trying to figure out how the universe works and what makes people tick, and how do we rise above it? Are we, sort of slated to our fate, or do we have some sort of decision behind that? And there's some that would say, yes, we have complete control. We are true masters and wizards and magicians. And then there's others that would say that it's all coded and all fated and all a divine plan, either by way of coding or by way of the divine. I don't know exactly where I stand. I feel like I have a little bit more control. But that could be just sort of coded into my reality that I have that control, while others may not. So I'm open to thinking about all of that. But what I love about what I do is the amazing synchronicities that are just everywhere, if you have the eyes to see. And when you notice these synchronicities, you can't help but laugh. It's almost like when I tell you guys to go out and look at the stars and contemplate your smallness under the vastness of the sky. When you do that, you get a much better perspective about the little things that are happening down here on Earth. But when you can start plucking synchronicities right out of the ether, it feels almost like a cosmic joke, but in a good way. So I hope you guys have some fun listening to this presentation, and just really enjoy and immerse yourself in what I'm going to show you. Remind me if I don't do it to show you how to find the energy that's coming on your own chart. So we're going to be working on this over the next couple of months, because where we are is in the upswing of a very huge pattern that's taking several months to play out. And so to come on right now and not see that 2025 video, you'll still be okay. But after you see this video, I want you to go back and check that video out. In fact, I'm going to share my screen right now, and I'm going to show you where that video is. And then we're going to look at the sky. We're going to read some astrology. And we're going to get into it. So let me go to my channel and find that so you can see what the thumbnail looks like. It's under lives. So it's this video right here, guys. I'm going to pause that and go back and then share my screen. All right. All right, let's see. Oh, Seema Dragon's here. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. All right, we're gonna have some fun today. Let me share my screen. It really is mind-blowing. And when you see these connections, it's just like, oh, are you serious? Are you serious? Here it is, dates to watch, this 2025. Definitely go back and sink in, let some of this information in this video sink in, and if you need to, rewatch what I'm gonna tell you today. Okay, so let me hide that, and then we're going to go over here. And I want to show you the night sky, actually about a week and a half ago. This is all the alignments that silly meme got everybody excited about. In fact, I have some friends in Florida that contacted me and said, oh my gosh, is there something amazing happening? And then people are forwarding me the meme and going, what's happening? And this is it. It's just, you can see it all at once in the night sky. And it's still pretty cool, if you ask me, like wow, okay. So there's, this was the 12th of January. So there's the moon, Mars, Jupiter, Uranus is over here. If you zoom in, you can see it. Then over here, we have Chiron, Neptune, the North Node. Then we have Saturn and Venus right here. So all these planets are in one time frame viewable, and some of them with the telescope, some of them without, even the moon. What's cool about this particular app online, stellarium-web.org, is that you can move the sky through time. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just watch this moon right here move past Mars. This is the full moon that we talked about. That's the wolf moon right there. And as we go through the days, you can see Venus perfecting her conjunction with Saturn right here. And then as we get around to today, this is today right now, you can see Jupiter, Mars, Uranus, Venus, and Saturn. As we go a little bit further, this is when Venus enters the constellation of Pisces and gets closer to Neptune. And we're going to talk about this. This is a very interesting shift to go from Aquarius, Saturn energy for Venus to Neptune, Pisces energy for Venus. We're going to tease that out a little bit because that's super interesting. As we go a little bit further, we'll get to this date, which is really important, and I'll show you why. It is part of the Fibonacci sequence that's associated with Venus's retrograde, which is coming up in March. The 27th, 28th, 29th, and then 30th. This is the full moon, and then a couple days later, the moon conjuncts Venus. This is the eclipse star point. So, or not the eclipse star point, eclipse point number 2. So on March 29th, you're going to have an eclipse of the sun right here. This is where the March new moon will be, and that's where the eclipse is. But this is an eclipse point. So on this day, the 2nd, is when the moon hits that point. So this is a day to watch. Okay, but you can pretty much see all the planets every night if you want to. And then after the new moon, you'll see the crescent moon move by Saturn and Venus, and that'll be really, really beautiful. And that'll happen right after sunset. So that's our sky. Let's dive into the presentation I put together for you, and we will look at the astrology as well. So I was so excited putting this together, I forgot to do a title slide. And so this is what you get, just the text. And it really just belies the actual truth of what we're going to look at today. And I've titled it Unlocking Stunning Synchronicities, because that's what we're all here to witness. And once we see it, we can't ever unsee it. It's really quite spectacular. On Saturday, the 18th, I went out with my little iPhone, the camera phone, and I took these pictures. This is the eastern direction, maybe around 8 o'clock at night, just above the roof of my house. If you look real close, you can see the roof line. And this is the planet Mars next to Castor and Pollux in Gemini. So this is really, really awesome. I mean, I literally could just look up and see this pattern, this asterism right here. And so I know that the astrology that I'm doing today for you guys is 100% accurate, connected to the natural sky that we're living under. And I think if we follow the spiritual tenets of, like as above, so below, so within, so without, that we can make the argument that the sky is a projection of the internal stories that are going on. And I'm not knocking tropical astrology or Western astrology, because it's preserved these archetypal energies, the knowledge of these archetypal energies, for us to realign to the sky and to literally live our best life, to live, like that book said, with the knowledge of our genius. Okay. And isn't it fitting that, Mars is retrograding back into Gemini, the stars of the genius. This is a very smart, intelligent, and artistic energy right here. And Mars is going back in there, reminding you that how smart and intelligent and artistic and creative you are, hanging out with Castor and Pollux. I also took this picture. It's a little bit more jittery, but this was straight up. And the camera had a little bit of a difficulty getting. I had to go about 3 times, but I literally got the Pleiades here. I have the entire constellation of Taurus in this camera. Look at this. We don't have Uranus, because Uranus is a little bit hard to see with the naked eye. Like, I literally would have to be in a desert with absolutely no ambient light, with no moon. Now, there was no moon. This was before the moonrise, but you can see that. You can see the Pleiades in the picture, and there's Jupiter, beautiful Jupiter. And if you go back to Stellarium, what is really spectacular, and you can't miss this, even if you don't see Mars, you're going to see Jupiter and Venus together. And they're going to be in the sky together for several months, because Venus is going to be in Pisces, then it's going to go retrograde. So we're going to see this little dance over the next few months with these 2 planets as the moon cycles through. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, the star of my show, anyway, is Venus. Venus and Saturn together. This is such a critically important alignment for me, you guys, because this was occurring in my natal birth chart. It was in Gemini when I was born, but that pattern of energy, that where the creative force is partially harnessed by the rules of reality, right? And that's what I'm doing. I'm creatively trying to figure out how reality works so that we can all be masters of it. Not just as 3-dimensional creatures, but as 4th-dimensional creatures, as immortal souls that know how to work their magic. And so this is such a powerful time for me. And as Venus moves past Saturn, and she's a little bit past him already, because this was the 18th, she's moving into the stars of Pisces, which is Neptune's realm, which is the mystical realm. It's the realm of dreams. It's the realm of surreality, right? So the reality that isn't quite real, the dream that you're dreaming. And to have the energy of Venus move into that space is very different than hanging out with Saturn in Aquarius. You have creation for the collective. You have practical, integral creations for the tribe. You have the energy of what's good for the greater common goal. Whereas when we dive into the Neptune energy and into the Pisces energy, it's going to be more surreal. It's going to be more mystical. It's going to be more dreamlike. It might even be very illusions, like full of illusions and delusions. It should be very exciting to see what happens. So this particular slide right here is taken from the slides that I used for the 2025 dates to watch. And I put them all into a timeline. And it looks really, really confusing, but I do break it down in that video. And the things that I want to point out is, number one, we are studying in this particular video just this time frame. Okay, just these 10 days right here. We're going to get a little bit into this, but only because of its pattern. But we're going to focus mainly on these days right here. But what I want you to notice is that we are approaching the second eclipse point that I pointed out. That's on February 2nd, right here. Okay, and January 26th is the 55th day from the middle of the Venus retrograde at the Venus star point. This is when Venus is at her most intense energy. And because she codes the Fibonacci sequence in her orbits with the Earth and the Sun, which eventually calculates out the constant of phi, which is the golden mean ratio, we can use these numbers as dates that are energetic reverberations of the Venus energy. So on the 26th, you really need to tap into what your Venus energy is feeling like. So we're going to look at that. We're going to see where Venus is in the chart. And then I want you guys to look at your own charts to see what house that's going to be affecting you. Because I can read this for the collective, but how it's going to work for you as an individual and as a person will depend on what house it is in natally for you. Okay, so this eclipse point, what this means is that this is also an energetic reverberation of the eclipse. So moon energy tends to move in the circle, right? The circle around the Earth, okay, around the stellosphere. We have this circle that's playing out all the time. Every 27 days, the moon will move to the exact point it was. So in other words, 17 degrees Pisces is when this eclipse will occur, the solar eclipse. The moon will be at 17 degrees Pisces on the 1st, and will be at 17 degrees Pisces again on the 2nd of February, and was at 17 degrees Pisces on the 6th of January. So if you can recall in your own mind what energetics were surrounding you on the 6th of January, then that may be very similar energy for you on the 2nd of February. So I hope that makes sense. I am going to explain that a little bit more as we get into the code breaking part of it. But that's where these numbers come from. So you see it's a palindrome. It's a 3, 2, 1, a 0, 1, 2, 3. Hope you're seeing that. Then, of course, you've got the Fibonacci 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, because the Fibonacci sequence is 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, etc. When you divide this number by this number, you get 1.618, which is phi. When you divide this number by this number, you get 1.618, which is phi. So every time you divide the subsequent or the previous number by the subsequent number, you get phi. And whenever you get the pi times the diameter, you get the circumference of a circle. So we have pi and phi, which describe the circle, and phi, which describes the spiral. All right, let's get into this particular week, and we'll get into more of this in a little bit. I just wanted to give you that preview. This is also a timeline. This is a timeline that you generate from the Prometheus Capricorn software that I have, that I use for my professional practice. So this you're not going to get online. This came directly from my software. But what it does is it gives me a range of dates. So from the 15th of January to basically the 2nd of February, we've got this timeline. Okay. And this box signifies the day that we are speaking to each other, which is right here. I've pulled a chart for each of these days with the stars. And what you'll see up here are the moon phase, or not the moon phases, but the constellations that the moon is moving through. Okay, so the longer constellations, the moon will spend a little bit more time there. The smaller constellations, the moon will go very quickly through. So right now the moon's in Virgo, and tomorrow we'll be in Libra. On the 23rd, we'll be in Scorpio, 25th Ophiuchus, 26th Sagittarius. So this is basically the burned path right here. These 5 days that the moon will go from that energy of vibrant Virgo to the death energy of Scorpio and the rebirth energy of Sagittarius as we move through Ophiuchus. So that's lunar energy. I like this time of month whenever the moon moves through this space, because this is when I'm most creative, most insightful, and able to make the most connections through the ether, through synchronicities. And so I enjoy this time of the month. For some people, it might not be so nice. They might have some struggles. They might have some traumas that come up. They might have triggers that come up. It just depends on where your critical degrees for the moon is. Usually for me, it's between Cancer and Leo. That's when I feel like more triggerable, so to speak. What's so interesting about today is a couple things. Number one is the sun has just moved into the constellation of Capricorn, and has made the conjunction with Pluto. So today they're exact. In fact, right now we are about, let's look at this chart. If you look over here in your aspectarians, you can see we are 24 arc seconds away from the conjunction of Pluto with the sun. So that means early this morning or late last night, it was right on point. And so what this means is that this is a yearly cycle because the sun takes 1 year to traverse the entire zodiac. So a year from now, the sun will be back here next to Pluto, maybe a degree or two forward because Pluto moves very slowly. But this is literally like energy of transformation and empowerment. It's like, let's get rid of outdated systems. Let's embrace new things. This is something that we all need to do from time to time. Because if we're thinking about the circle and the spiral, the sun makes that yearly circle. But every year, we're a little bit smarter. We're a little bit wiser. We're a little bit older. We're a little bit further along in our evolution. And that, to me, is a spiral energy. Okay, so you've got the circling spiral as it evolves through time, through space, and through the different vibrational densities. And for the sun to shift from Sagittarius to Capricorn is the same energy that Pluto's doing in super slow motion. So we go from sort of solidifying the foundations of of what's true for us spiritually and in the realms of higher wisdom to putting it into concrete, applicable focus. And so I like this because it feels like we're inspired and we have the energy and the stamina to do the work that's necessary. Now, where this is in your chart depends on where in the world Capricorn and Sagittarius are. So for this particular chart, for right now, it's in the 7th house in the sky. So if a baby were born today, they would have Pluto conjunct Sun in their 7th house if they were born right now. Now, you might have it on your ascendant. You might have Sagittarius rising, and then you've got Capricorn and Sun in your 12th house. So it really just depends. The best thing to do is to pull your free chart from that website that Desiree put in the links. Go there, put in your birth time, look at where Capricorn and Sagittarius are, and note the number here. Okay? So if it's up here, it'll be in your 10th house. If it's down here, it'll be in your 4th house. And so if you know the meaning of the houses, then this might be more applicable to you. So for me, for example, this energy is, I want to say, yeah, it's right there at the very beginning of my 9th house. So for me, I've already gone through the spiritual wisdom stuff as Pluto's transited through my entire 8th house. Now we're in the 9th house. So now it's about expansion. It's about long distance energy, going out there and doing the new thing and learning from those experiences. So there could be something where I sort of let go of things that are holding me back, let go of programming, and enter into a new phase of wisdom with the inspired energy to take some action around it. So that's how I would read that for my chart. If it's in your 2nd house, it's a completely different energy. Okay, so do find out where that is so you can feel how that energy is important for you. The other thing here is you can notice that in a day or two, Venus will be traversing into the stars of Pisces. She's separating from Saturn right now. They perfected their conjunction on the 18th, which was this picture right here. So that was as close as they were going to get. And so this is the 21st, a few days later. And Venus is about a degree away from entering into Pisces. And as she does that, she's going to separate from Saturn because she moves faster. And we'll see this in subsequent charts. And so if you think of the stars of Aquarius and Saturn is sitting there, Saturn used to rule Aquarius. Aquarius is now ruled by Uranus. So it's the energy of futuristic thinking. It's the energy of collective thinking. It's higher mind, higher vibrational type thinking. It isn't blaming others. There's no boundaries between, black, white, right, wrong, right, left, I should say. It's pretty much, we're all focused on the collective common good. And so this is a nice space for like thinking about how we would act as a planet towards another civilization, for example. And so what would an energy of Saturn be in that? That would be someone coming in wanting to make rules around that. someone coming in to develop structures around what's good for the collective. And then Venus just has an element of creativity and arousal and desire and excitement around all of that. Now, it's a very practical way for Venus to be. It's a very nice place for Venus to be. But as she moves into Pisces, it's more sensual, it's more creative, it's more receptive. It's like a letting go process is going to be happening. And I really think that that's what this energy of the North Node needs right now. We have the North Node and Neptune conjunct in Pisces. Okay, and when we think about the nodal energy, right, this is the head of the snake, the tail of the snake. We have Ketu over here and Rahu over here. That's another name for these energies. And Rahu is your desire. What do you want to achieve? What is your collective, what is your, evolutionary destiny in this lifetime? And to have it in such a chill space of Pisces, such a receptive, receiving place, it can be hard. Like we feel like we have to get into, as a collective, into this spiritual mindset so that we can understand collective consciousness, so that we can understand that we're all one, so that we can dispense with war and violence and anger and fear. And that's what these two are doing. And now Venus is coming into the picture, giving us even a more of a creative boost around this, what this might mean for you as an individual. Pisces for me, guys, is in my 10th and 11th house. So creative ways to connect with the collective. If it's in your second house, it might be that you are in a very receptive space to create and then receive because of how valuable whatever it is that you're creating is. Okay, if it's in your first house, there's an identity shift here. This is someone who's going to become this energy. Okay, so you also want to look where Pisces is in your chart so that you can understand how this shift from not only, Sagittarius to Capricorn energy as the sun moves over, but also as Venus moves in from Aquarius into Pisces energy. Okay, so let's see. Mars has just retrograded back into the stars of Gemini, and we'll spend a little bit of time here, another month retrograde, and then we'll go back direct towards Cancer and Leo. So let's move forward just a couple of days and let's explore some different energies here. So the next day that I starred was the 23rd. And what you'll see here is this opposition of Mercury and Mars. There is also Lilith involved in this. And so there's a little bit of a nuanced energy than just looking at it in this timeline. But Mercury is also trine to Uranus, which is a very nice combination. And also Mars is sextile to Uranus. So this whole week is just all really, really nice energy when you look at a time map. But then when we look at the actual chart, we see quite a few squares because that time map doesn't include this black moon Lilith energy, which is very, very important for the upcoming eclipse point that we're going to talk about at the end and part of the decode that we're doing. So when we look at this square here, we now have Venus officially in Pisces, almost halfway between Saturn and Neptune. You guys should be able to feel this in the coming days. You should feel your creative energy transforming into something that feels like it has to get stuff done, to allowing, to receiving, and to opening up to even more creative, intuitive energy. The sun is going to be separating more from Pluto. Mercury is going to be approaching Pluto. But there's this opposition here between Mercury and Mars, and then Chiron and Black Moon Lilith. This is one of those mystic squares that I've talked about before. This can feel really, really challenging because basically you've got 2 oppositions and 4 squares. And so that's the only really tense energy that's here on the chart. And Mars, of course, is retrograde in the creative and an intellectual space of Gemini. This is very, very good for carrying out ideas, but there might be some tension here with the true creative desires, because Black Moon Lilith, remember, is that raw creative power. And she's in Virgo too. So she's like this, just this like master witch energy, like just bubbling up sorcery kind of energy. And it's opposing Chiron, who's the wounded healer teacher, this disconnection from spirit. So like not believing in the magic that you have can cause tension with your ability to understand and intellectualize it and then to express it. Um, so this is a pretty complex energy, right? But if you think of a dynamic tension, maybe between intuition, alchemy kind of energy, and then the analytical reasoning, and then find a harmony in that space somewhere, right? So you have this untamed feminine, you've got this Sagittarius Mercury, that's all about expansive thought and opening up to new ideas. And then there's patience and introspection with Mars. Um, and so how do you bring these two together? Means, how do you take intuition and logic? How do you take, unknown or undiscovered passions within yourself and heal? And so that's what this combination is asking us to do. So it's very nuanced, and it'll be different for everybody depending on which angles these are hitting for you. So for this person, let's say this was a person who the houses were correct, then whatever action this person takes depends, is going to be how they identify with who they are. So however they react and act to the tensions that are occurring within their own energetics will be how they identify with themselves. Whereas if your Mars is, say, in your seventh house, it might be about relationships. But I think it already is for this person, right? Because Mars is in first house, Mercury is in the seventh house. So the actions we take, the communications with others could affect this person's career and family life because it's first, seventh, and 10th house. So depending on what angles this is for you. Okay, so I thought that was very interesting to look at. On this day too, the moon is in Libra, which is a very nice place for the moon. It's a very fair energy, very logical energy, very high perspective energy. And it is in nice aspect with the lunar nodes. So with Ketu and with Rahu, it's making a trine to that north node and a sextile back to the south node in Virgo. So this should feel like a pretty nice day if this isn't too tense on you, depending on what's going on. This could be just a one day kind of a hiccup, or this could, awaken something in you that you need to change and set you on a course of action. So this could be a very interesting day. See, it's not just the 25th, you guys. So, all right, let's move on to the next day. So this is the day that everybody's sending that viral meme around. The 25th, which doesn't look like any other day to me at all. But it's still a nice day because this is Venus's 55th day until her star point, until the big Venus star point in Pisces. So we've got Venus now in Pisces. She's literally right between the two energies here. And in the days following, will be more and more resonant with the Neptune energy, the Pisces energy, and the Rahu energy. So as we move forward in time, you're definitely going to feel that shift. The sun is starting a new journey beyond Pluto. This opposition is still holding with Mercury and Mars, but it's also waning. Okay, and then the moon makes its monthly square between the nodes. So when the moon squares the nodes, especially in Ophiuchus, this could be some kind of emotional energy for you that has to do with spirit, that has to do with the highest connection to source. So something divine might come in here that you're feeling through on the 25th. That's why it could be a big day, because wherever your Ophiuchus is, there's some sort of divine intuitive revelation there for you. For me, this is seventh house, so it might be around my relationship with others. So wherever that moon is going to be making a square with the collective lunar nodes. All right. And then Mars is still retrograde. Yep, so everything is still pretty much the same. You'll notice Lilith is getting closer and closer to this south node in a retrograde fashion. All right, so then the last day that I have starred on this time map is the new moon on the 29th. And probably Friday or Saturday, I will come out with a little bit more energy on this, but let's just take a look at it. Because it's more than a week out, so I don't want to overwhelm you with too much astrology, but it is interesting to look at, because what we see here is Venus is now finally like in that orb of conjunction with Neptune and Rahu, and this is a very snug energy, and this is related to our collective destiny, this creative, receptive, inspired type of energy, hanging out and just receiving in Pisces. So if you're willing to receive, you might be getting some really amazing creative downloads. And then you can see Black Moon Lilith very close to Ketu, or the South Node. Moon, here's the new moon and Sun conjunct. And then Saturn goes direct on the day of this new moon. Okay, so what this means is that everything that is Uranus, even the sign that rules, which is Aquarius, is going to shift directions as well. So we've had a retrograde Uranus sort of internalizing the uniqueness, the rebelliousness, the desire for freedom, all of that, internalizing that. Now it's going to move direct. So we're going to see outward physical manifestations of whatever it is we worked on during Uranus retrograde. How are we unique? How are we individual? How are we honoring source by being an expression of that unique fractal of divinity? Well, now it's time to shine, because after this moon, after this new moon, this next lunation is going to be a revving up of Uranus energy. And I think it's really good. I think if you're really okay with who you are as an individual and love yourself as being that individual, it's going to be very nice energy, because it's also in what's called a grand trine with asteroid Lilith and black moon Lilith. Well, kind of a grand trine, but Uranus is trining both of these energies, which is nice, because you have that divine creative force that is now allowed to, through that channel of divinity, express itself in unique and very earthly ways. So we might see some physical manifestations. Taurus is the house of finance and the stock market, so we could see some strange things starting to happen with that energy as the next lunation occurs. Okay, so there is one more date that I want to peek at, and it's February 2nd, but this is pretty much what the whole decode is around. So let me just check in and see how you guys are doing. And look at the chat here. All right, let's see. What do we have? Okay, so you guys are printing out your charts. This is good. Manel Vida, hi from France. Hello, thank you for coming. Break Free Transformations. Hello, hello. Who else do we have? Okay, good. Desiree and Lori are helping you guys. That's awesome. Did somebody say that was too much astrology? We're going to take a break from the astrology, but we're going to look at it in a totally different way right now. We're going to look at it through numerology. We're going to look at it through gematria using the Phi cipher, and I'll show you how that works. We're going to use Phi and Pi as well. It's just going to be really, really cool. Like when I was going through this, I just kept laughing to myself, and then my jaw hit the floor, and I had to pick it up and then keep laughing because it was so cool how like all of it came together. So hopefully you guys are ready for this. Here we go. Sip some water here. All right. I'm going to bring in this part of the timeline. This is what this is what I broke down in much greater detail in that previous video, the dates of 2025. But I thought I'd bring this one in with just the lunar dates so that, you know, you didn't see all that other stuff. Here we have the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse. The solar eclipse is what we're pointing to because this is the beginning of a new lunation. The lunar eclipse is just as important, and I'll go through that, but I wanted you to see just the eclipse points. Okay, and the eclipse points are labeled here. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. So before and after, we get ripples of energy from this eclipse. Well, why does that happen? Okay, why can it go back in time? Why does it go forward in time? You know, what does that mean? How is that occurring? Well, the reason it occurs is because eclipses trigger events. They flush out unresolved issues. Lunar eclipses have emotional abruptions. And anytime the moon crosses the degrees of an upcoming or a previous eclipse, we get these eclipse points. Okay, so it has to be that particular degree, which means it's not from new moon to new moon. It's from the eclipse point, the degree that the eclipse occurs on, which is 17 degrees Pisces in the actual sky. Okay, anytime the moon hits that in the months preceding the eclipse and the months after the eclipse are eclipse points. And it's because these events, they're like pattern breaks, they're like disruptions of energies, and it creates a reverberation in time space. And we've talked about time space before. We experience it as three-dimensional creatures temporally, because that's the way you experience 3D reality, through time. But in fourth dimensional and hyperdimensional spaces, time isn't a thing. Time isn't linear the way we think about it. We experience fourth dimensional time in slices. And I'm going to actually show that to y'all next week or later this week when we do the next live presentation. So these energetic fluctuations that ripple outward across all dimensions of space and time is very similar to if you think about the two-dimensional surface of a lake or a pond, and you drop a rock in there and you get ripples outward. You experience that ripple temporally, okay? But in the higher dimensions beyond 3 dimensions, time isn't linear. So it can do this, and it can do it in all directions. And we experience this as energetic beings. So yeah, it's just a sequence of ripples unfolding gradually in a frame by frame fashion, extending both forward and backward in time. Okay, creating patterns that resonate throughout our experience, which is why I said on the 6th of January, what did you go through? What did you experience? You will likely experience something similar on the 2nd of February, okay? So the idea is that the eclipse is the large event, and so because ripples attenuate, they get smaller and smaller through time, the energy of the 6th of January will be less intense than the energy of the February 2nd. So I hope that makes sense, that the closer we get to the eclipse, the more intense it is, the eclipse being the most intense point. So but if we can identify these patterns, we can anticipate future events that may echo the energy of the eclipse less intensely. These patterns provide insights and resolutions to lingering challenges, offering a sense of clarity or direction. So these can actually persist up to 12 months or even longer, with the squares being worse. So like the 3rd, the 6th, and the 9th month can be more intense than, say, the 2nd or the 10th month. And that's just a phenomenon of astrology when you look at the square from outer space. So we go back to these eclipse points, and that's what we're basically looking at here. And I know I belabored that, but the reason I wanted you to see this particular pattern, because this is not the lunar phase pattern, this is simply where the moon is pattern, is because it has to do with pi, phi, and the fine structure constant. Because the three constants that I'm talking about will give you the days and hours of this lunar cycle, 27 days and 4 hours. It will give you that number if you combine all three of them, okay? So real quick, pi. Pi is a constant that is a ratio, regardless the size of a circle, from its circumference to its diameter. So if you take pi times the diameter, you're going to get the distance around the circle, meaning that the circumference divided by the diameter will always be pi, no matter how big the circle is. It's an irrational number, which simply means it will never be like 3 or 2. It's going to be this string of digits beyond the decimal point that actually literally go on forever without repeating. So if you get a repeater, then that's cool. But with pi, it goes on forever. And I think they've actually calculated it out to about 1 trillion digits. And as we get more and more computing power, it'll get even further out. So that's pi. That has to do with the circle we've been talking about, the circle that spirals and evolves along the spiral through time. While phi, the golden ratio, describes the spiral. And we get this ratio by taking one number in the Fibonacci sequence and dividing it by the preceding number. Now, the further you get into the larger numbers, like the bigger the numbers are, so once we get into like 144, 230, 330, those numbers, then the closer this number gets and the more irrational this number gets, meaning it takes on the same properties of pi as these numbers go further off into infinity. Okay, so those are just the two things I wanted you to take away from pi and phi. Pi is the circle, phi is the spiral. If you combine them together, you get the circling spiral. Now, the fine structure constant is 1/137-ish, right? And I think it's really interesting that Archaics has noted the 138 orbital cycle of the Phoenix. okay, ish, 138. Okay, so 138, 137. He's even gone so far as to say that 138 in chronology is exactly this, the fine structure constant. All the fine structure constant does is it speaks to the size of atoms and the energy level of electrons and the light that they emit. But it's a number that you get all over the place when you do these relationships on that quantum level, when you're doing quantum calculations. And this number is so finely tuned like this that if it was like 1/40, it'd be different. We'd fly off the planet. We wouldn't be able to see light. Everything would be different. So it's tuned directly for our electromagnetics that we experience in our third dimensional reality. So very important number for that reason. Now, when you take pi and phi and you multiply them together, you get a little number that's just above the number 5. But if you divide 138 by these two numbers, you get this, which is the exact temporal distance between these eclipse points. Okay, so pi, phi, and the fine structure constant also relate to these, which is why I think, energetically speaking, these events reverberate across time, because they're connected through this. So that's just really super interesting. All right, did you guys understand that? Do you want me to go back over that? If I need to repeat that, basically, I just want you to understand the circling spiral, and that the reason that the circling spiral can manifest is because of the fine structure constant. This has been identified in chronology. There's also an angle called the golden angle. There is, yeah. Desiree says, I don't totally get the fine structure constant. It's hard to explain in a way that's useful for this presentation that doesn't take another 30 minutes to get into. So if you can just accept that, if you were to Google fine structure constant, you're going to have to look at a whole lot of math. But it's a very important number when we're talking about quantum physics and the electromagnetics of sort of the ether. Okay, when scientists study the ether and the quantum foam, that number pops up a lot. So what I would like to do next for y'all is take you through this amazing code break here. We're going to look at February 2nd. This is the eclipse, the coming eclipse point. This is basically 27.1 days times 2 away from the solar eclipse that's occurring in March, on March 29th. Okay, so you see a moon here at 17 degrees of Pisces. You see Venus, Rahu, and Neptune conjunct 8, 9, and 9 degrees. That's pretty tight. That's within one orb. Okay, so they're all within one orb degree of each other. And then we have Ketu and Black Moon Lilith. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at all this energy, and we're going to be relating it to pi and phi. And it is pretty freaking fantastic. So I went to decoded.co, which is Logan of Decode Your Reality and Jordan of Waters Above. They created this cipher website. It's fantastic. There are so many cool codes in here. And actually, if you guys don't mind, real quick, I just want to take you to that website, because I'm going to toot my own horn real quick, if you don't mind. So if you go here, it takes a minute to load. And you go into the machine, you can see the cipher here. But what you can do is choose different ciphers. So let's see, we've got, if we go to other, we've got Chaldean, Ophiuchus, Sumerian, Sun and Moon. And I'm going through all of these a little bit at a time. I've done Chaldean quite a bit. And I've also done, this is where I wanted to toot my horn. Under here is the Scrabble cipher that Logan added to this website after seeing my last video, when we did the Scrabble cipher with Lush. So I'm pretty proud of that. There it is. I'm contributing to the decoding world. So that's pretty awesome. So this is the cipher I used for this particular decode. It is the Phi cipher. And you can see that it goes in the order of the irrational string of digits of 5, 1.61803398874989484, blah, blah, blah. And it goes all the way to Z. So this is the frequency, the number frequency that each of these letters get in this cipher. So that's what I use throughout this decode to see what we could find. So I did Venus, Neptune, and Rahu. And I got 20 for Venus, 22 for Neptune, 14 for Rahu, and 56 for the total combined. And remember, these guys are all right here, Venus, Neptune, and Rahu. So this is what we're looking at. There's a lot of different ways you can go with numerology. When you have a number in front of you, you can go to the cards of illumination and pick the card that represents that number in the deck. You can pull the different words out separately. You can even pull the letters out separately. You can go into the periodic table of elements also. So there's a lot of numbers here we can work with. We can look at 20, 22, 14, and 56. And so that's what I did. It just, whatever kind of came to me as I put this in and I looked at these numbers, I said, this is the periodic table next. So I went there, and the Royal Society of Chemistry, you can go there and they have beautiful graphics associated with all the elements. And you get calcium, titanium, and silicon. And I just love that Venus is a spiral, because Venus is associated with the 5, 8, and the 13 in her coordinated orbit with the Earth and the Sun. So I love that. And I couldn't really associate Neptune with this, but I just laid it out for you guys. We're going to get back to Rahu, but 56 is also super interesting. Check this out. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but look what the atomic weight of barium is. You see that? 137. Okay, that's pretty cool. So there's the fine structure constant, or the 138, 137, 138-ish right there, if you combine Venus, Neptune, and Rahu. So here we have fine structure constant. One of you, I forgot who it was, and one of you pointed out to me that there is an angle out there called the golden angle that is measured in 137.5 degrees. And so I'm actually looking into creating this aspect in the Prometheus Capricorn software so that I can find out, I don't know if I call it the Phoenix angle or the pattern break angle or aspect or what I'm going to call it, but it'll definitely elucidate a different kind of energy in our astrology charts, because if you look at the square, it's 90 degrees. If you look at the opposition, it's 180 degrees. And if you look at the trine, it's I think it's 60 degrees or something, or the sextile is 60 degrees and the trine is 120 degrees. So there you have it. 137.5 degrees is the golden angle. So maybe we can use that in astrology. If you take the atomic weights of calcium, titanium, and silicon, you're going to get the number 116. And 116 is an isotope of tin. The normal isotope is 118, but it does have a 116 isotope. So we're using that isotope for our particular purposes, mostly because this image just reminds me of Rahu and Ketu. It looks like Ketu here and Rahu when we look at a chart. There's Rahu, there's Ketu, and there it is on tin. So I went ahead and I did Ketu and Rahu in the Phi cipher, okay? And Ketu is 9 and Rahu is 14. So let's see what that shows us. If you put the numbers together, make a composite number of 149, you find out that the 35th, that 149 is the 35th prime, which is interesting, and I'll show you in a second. But you can go to Number Empire and examine any number like that. It will tell you that the 149th prime is 859, for example. It will tell you that it is the 35th prime itself. It will tell you if it's a Fibonacci number. So this is a really cool resource if you want to do numbers. But putting these two together, which is what we're looking at for this particular decode, we get 149. Now, if we take K2 and we look at its atomic element, or its element on the periodic table, we can get fluorine, whose atomic weight is 19. So we're going to have these two things next to each other right now, just for now, because what I'm going to show you is pretty mind-blowing next. Fluorine, real quick, is a name derived from fluor, meaning to flow, right? And isn't that what K2 is about? K2 is about chilling out, about being in the flow. So K2 is with Black Moon Lilith during this particular day. So we want to look at Black Moon Lilith also. And I just found it so amazingly interesting when I put Black Moon Lilith, BML, Black Moon Lilith, into the Phi cipher. We got 19 to go with the fluorine of K2's 9. We have 19 for fluorine right there. You guys probably know what I'm going to say next. If you can see it, if you have the eyes to see it, you can see it next. So Moon and Lilith are both 35. 149 is the 35th prime number. So wow, I mean, it's just so connected. Like if you don't see this connection and are not in wonderment of how beautiful the universe is and how amazing this is so incredible. And yes, there's more. When you take the 35th element, bromine, and then you look at its boiling point, wow. Okay. So we have, Rahu, Venus, and Neptune creating barium, which gives the atomic weight of 137. And then when you combine Rahu and Ketu as a composite number, you get the 35th prime, which is bromine and has a melting point of the fine structure constant. So, yeah. Wow. Here's one more cool thing. You can go to the irrational numbers search engine, and you can say, where in the string of pi will I be able to find the number I'm looking for? And so I said, I wonder where 137 is in the string of pi. And so I put the number in, and it spit out this. It said that this digit is the 859th digit. And 149, the 149th prime is 859. So here you see all these little synchronicities. We're just pulling this out just from the astrology and the numerology cipher of Phi. We don't want to forget the sun. The sun is 16 in this Phi cipher. And if you multiply the sun times pi, you get 50. Well, about 50, like 50.2 or something like that. But you get 50. So there's pi and the sun circling around the sun, moon circling around the earth. We have the pi energy through the Phi cipher. It's just amazing. Let's look at Black Moon Lilith a little bit more. Black Moon Lilith with BML, you get 108. Now, this might have been a little bit of a stretch, but when I did that and I saw 19, 19, 35, 35, it just looked too palindromic and synchronous for me to say, okay, well, I can take out the BML. But I did do that eventually. But the 108 is connected to this. Okay. Do you guys understand what you're looking at right here? So this is the star that we draw as kids. You can continuously follow this path. This is the star that Venus, Earth, and Sun create as Venus orbits the Sun and Earth orbits the Sun. She creates a 5-point star in 8 Earth years, making 13 orbits around the Sun, which is the Fibonacci sequence, which is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, etc. So holy crap, we have this star. These are the angles within this perfect star, 108. Here's something interesting about both Mercury and Venus's orbits, if you're interested. We already calculated that 27-day orbit times pi phi equals the fine structure constant. Mercury, if you take Mercury's orbit and multiply it by phi, you get about 138. If you're standing on the sun and you watch Venus orbit in the sky and return to the same point every single time, that's approximately 224 days. If you divide that by phi, you get 138. But if you take Venus's orbit as standing on the Earth, she will move back to the same spot every 584 days. And if you divide that by 5, you get 360, which is the freaking circle. That's the circle. That's pi, okay? And here's another little interesting calculation. If you take 72 times pi and phi, you get 365. Whereas 72 times these 5 points, you get 360. So it's the movement of the circle spinning, going upward in a spiraling fashion that adds that little bit of jiggle into the universe. And this difference, Desiree, is probably where the fine structure constant comes from. That little bit of jitter in the universe. Okay, there's a little bit more on Black Moon Lilith. So let's take out the BML and just look at 89. This is crazy. Check this out. If you go back to number empire and put in 89, it's a Fibonacci number. Remember this? It's a Fibonacci number. We went on the 89th Fibonacci number to the next Venus star point was Christmas Eve. Okay. So we have a Fibonacci number here. That's interesting. That ties us back into the phi. Here is a sequence of the Fibonacci numbers, so you know what we're looking at. You know why it creates the spiral, because this ratio, as it repeats itself, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. 144 is I think it's the 12th digit in the string. So always go to number empire to check your numbers, because they're so fascinating. Black Moon Lilith is all about freedom. Okay, freedom is 33 in the phi cipher. If you take 137 and you put it in number empire, you get the 33rd prime. Okay, I might be stretching that connection a little bit, but let's keep going because there's still more cool stuff. All right, if we take K2, which is the south node, put it in the phi cipher, we have that number 9, remember. K2 is all about spirituality. And when I put spirituality into the phi cipher, do you see that? Hopefully y'all know what this is. It's another Fibonacci number. Goes back to this. This is the 26th. This is in 5 days, okay? So whatever happened to you around Christmas in your creative energy, you're going to feel it again on the 26th. And it'll probably be more intense. And since this is a spiral, it probably increases exponentially. That's my theory anyway. So there you have it. 55 and 89, numbers of the Fibonacci sequence. There that is. So we have a few more slides. This should go a little bit more quickly. Just some things to add on to blow your mind a little bit more, if it's not too much already. We've examined these in terms of pi and in terms of the astrological energetics. And now we've examined some of this. So let's see what else we can get into. So these are very much tied to eclipses, the energy that I'm talking about, because the point in time where these eclipses are occurring, which will be March 14th and March 29th, this is when the sun and the moon, the sun is aligned to the north node and the moon hits the south node first, which creates the lunar eclipse, and then comes back around in 15 days and hits the north node with the sun, creating a new moon lunar eclipse. And so the energies that are associated with eclipses are the sun, the moon, Rahu, and Ketu. We're south node and north node. So we're just going to review, right? So we have moon, 35, 35th prime number. You combine Rahu and Ketu, you get 149. 35 ties to bromine, which ties us to the fine structure constant. Okay, so we have pi, phi, and the fine structure constant all over this slide. If we look at the sun, we remember that the sun is 16, and if you multiply that times pi, you get 10, which takes you back to Rahu and Ketu. But if we actually look at, so the cool thing about eclipses, guys, is that they have labels. They're numbered. So in a series of eclipses, they will call that series a certain number. So when I looked up the Saros cycle numbers, or the Saros series numbers for these eclipses, and this will blow your freaking mind. If you look at the solar eclipse on March 29th, its Saros cycle number is 149. Bam. I mean, I don't even know. Like, I should just stop right here, maybe. But I think we have just like 7 or 8 more slides. So I just think that's amazing. We've been going through the astrological energy. We've been going through the numerology. We haven't even pulled out tarot or the deck of cards. This is all just numbers and alchemy. Okay. Check this out. If we look at Rahu, which is 14, and remember that Rahu is about your desire. Make sure I didn't skip a slide. Yeah. Rahu is about desire, which ties back to silicone, which is 14, which ties back to Rahu. So this phi cipher in alchemology, again, says this is the astrological energy of Rahu, or the North Node. It's also about your drive, right? What are you here to do? What are you driven to do here in this lifetime? And if you look at Black Moon Lilith's number, 89, it's the 24th prime. Because it's also it's a Fibonacci number, but it's also a prime. So it's the 11th Fibonacci number, and it is the 24th prime. So desire and drive. Now, the lunar eclipse also has a Saros cycle number, and this number is 123. Now, there is so much. The last few slides, I'm just going to decode this right here, this little circle, because this is packed full of amazing numerology energy. Where have you guys seen the 1, 2, 3? Where have you seen that before? Right here on the chart I created for you. 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. So we have this palindrome working for us. Note that the lunar eclipse is 314. I saved this. Hopefully you guys already saw this, but 314 is pi. It's freaking pi. 3.14. What? Okay, cool. So now we have that connection. If you take 3 times 41, which is the numbers of 3.14, which is pi, you get 123. Okay. So just numerology, just playing around with the numbers. Then if you take moon, remember moon's 35. Moon's all about our intuition, right? Our sixth sense, our feeling sense. So if we just type out intuition and do, what do we get? We get 53. It's the 53rd lunar eclipse in this Saros cycle. Intuition, 35. The moon's 35, intuition's 53. So we have a palindromic relationship here as well. And that palindromic relationship is again right here. So, wow. And then, of course, you probably know where I'm going next with this 72 because, well, I might not go there right now, but let's see. What did I do? Oh, number 53 is the 16th prime, which goes back to the sun. Okay. So, I mean, this is just so incredible, the way that the moon and the sun and the energy of the words, the word of intuition, the word of drive, the word of desire, how it ties back into the numerology of this actual physical, astronomical, and astrological event. Okay, now I'm going to this, because 72 is the other angle on the point side of these stars. Okay, and I think I saw Desiree in there doing some math, and you kind of spoiled the surprise at the end because, well, you didn't. I'm just joking. But so we're back to that Venus energy, right? So let's bring Venus into the picture, and we'll do that by identifying this angle here, because for those of you that don't know, the angles of a triangle will always equal 180 degrees. So if you add 72 and 72, you get 144, and what's left from 180 is 36. So this angle, X, Y, Z, W, and V, those are all 36 degrees. What's Venus about? What is Venus ultimately about? What are we talking about when we talk about Venus? We're talking about creativity. And in the phi cipher, it equals 36. So, you guys, that was my decode. Isn't this amazing? Isn't this graphic, this timeline? Hopefully it's coming to life for you the way it is for me. And and that as we get into these days coming up, that the energy is going to pick up a bit in intensity and frequency. And so I hope you stick with me. I hope you keep coming to these lives, probably about once a week or every 10 days or so. We're going to go through this. I'll probably come back to this particular graphic maybe on the 3rd or the 4th of February. And we'll look at the superior conjunction of Mercury to the Sun. We'll look at this Venus Fibonacci day, and we'll look at the Venus turning retrograde and the 21 Fibonacci. So that maybe we'll do that next time. But that's all I had for you guys. I'm not going to close it. Go back to Restream. How was that? Did you guys like that? Man, I enjoyed putting that together. I couldn't help but laugh when I was doing it. It was just like, man, this is so funny. Holy smokes. Did you guys see anything in there I didn't see? Maybe when you go back over it again. If you see something I didn't see, please point that out. Key to Wellbeing says, you'd have fun chatting with Dr. Robert Grant. There are tons of people I would love to chat with that I'm going to be actually reaching out to in the next few months that are on my list. So, ooh, spirituality gave me a chef's kiss. Mwah. Excellent. Mind candy. Yes. So let's see, what am I going to do the rest of this day? I'm going to have some dinner with my husband, just enjoy this cold evening. And then I have a couple of readings tomorrow and the next day. So I'll be doing those. And then getting the next presentation ready. And this one's going to be so good, you guys. Oh my God. Tertium Organum. And this was written by a guy named P.D. Ouspinski. He's a very deep dude for his time frame. He was born in the late 1800s or the mid 1800s. And he's actually connected to Buckminster Fuller, the guy that created C60, or was sort of the guy behind it. He's the one the buckyballs, the C60, it's named after him. Fullerene is also named after him, which is C60. So we're going to get into that because there's some alchemology behind that too. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. I'm going to put the peppy little Loosh video in here with the happy memes in there to get you guys pumped and excited. And yes, Lori, thank you for posting that. If you want to follow our daily stuff, you can join the Fellowship of 13 Signs. All my links are below. So if you guys want a reading for the next little bit, my links are below for that too. Like even a natal reading will help you get through the next couple of months if you've never had that before. Okay, my loves. I love y'all so much. Thanks for hanging with me, and we'll see y'all next time. Let me see if I can get that in there. Oh, I can't change the scenery. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let me see. All right, well, we could just end it, I guess. I guess I don't have to do anything fancy because my mouse is acting crazy right now. Oh my gosh, why is it doing that? Oh no. I can't close it. Oh my gosh, I don't know how to end my live stream because my mouse just decided to act crazy. Oh my gosh, for real, y'all. Okay, I got it to work again. All right, let's try this. God, that was so silly. Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties. Bye. Bye.